manzenのjiriki、言詞を変す、円満の徳語、戦勝を進むとなんだ。He criticizes self-power endeavor in the myriad good practices and encourages solely to say the fulfilled name embodying true virtue. Today, we continue with passages from the Shoshinge, where Shinran Shonin praises the virtues of Doshaku Zenji, Taocho. And in this particular passage, we are told by Shinran Shonin that Doshaku Zenji tried to steer us away from practicing the tens of thousands of good deeds of self-power. This seems contrary, especially when Doshaku Zenji describes the practice of self-power as tens of thousands of good acts, as opposed to calling them sundry acts or auxiliary acts. And so, in this particular way of phrasing things, Shinran Shonin is letting us know that Doshaku Zenji saw self-power practices as being good acts. And yet, he tries to lead us away from those acts. And the question becomes, why? In the following passage, we are told about the importance of faith. And so this becomes a question of the heart. Jiriki, self-power practice, is something that even while it is a good act, can and often does enable us to see ourselves as good. And when we begin to see ourselves as good, it becomes, unfortunately, that much easier for us to see others as bad. And this is not the Buddhist path. For example, especially recently, people have been moving towards meditation. And part of the reason for this is because we are told of all the health benefits, of how it is something that can and does reduce our stress. But Buddhist practice is not meant as medicinal. It is meant as spiritual. And as such, it needs to be able to liberate us. One time, I decided that I too would try Zazen meditation. And when I first started meditating, it was very, very difficult, just settling in, just being able to sit still. But over time, I began to get much, much better, and it became rather easy to settle myself within the first 5 to 10 minutes, which allowed me to sit in quiet meditation for half an hour. And at one point, I was even able to keep myself settled completely for an hour. But it was during that process that I began to see my heart. As I was getting better and pushing myself to longer and longer periods of time in seated meditation, I found that I was distracted by new people who came into the meditation hall and were rustling about. I had already forgotten that I was that person not too much long before. And yet, when these new people came in after me, I began to feel upset towards these people. I was thinking things like, stop making all this noise. You are disturbing my meditative practice. I am getting so much better now. I don't need you to distract me from getting better. And I was very, very judgmental. And then I became much better, where even the new people were no longer able to upset me. And when that moment came, I began to think, hey, I'm getting good. And then, as more time went along, I found myself thinking, hey, look at me. This is what you want to look like. And it was when I found myself thinking these thoughts that I decided that I should stop meditation. The reason for this is because Zazen meditation is designed to help us to move us away from our egos. And instead, in my experience, because of the foolishness of the heart that I possess, I found that I was not moving away from my ego. I was, in fact, making it stronger and bigger. It is perhaps for this reason why Doshaku Zenji tried to move us away from the tens of thousands of good acts of self-power. Instead, Shinran Shonin tells us, Doshaku Zenji encouraged us to say the name of Namo Amida Butsu, the name that is filled with virtues that are complete. Not the kinds of things that we are trying to build up towards, but something that is already fulfilled in its virtuosity. It is a name that reminds us how powerful selflessness can be. It is a name that is filled with a promise that says, if I cannot help you to become a Buddha, if I cannot help raise you to my level, then I will stop being a Buddha. I will come down to yours. This is how much Namo Amida Butsu thinks of us. It isn't the heart that judges and tells another person, you are not good enough. It is not the heart that boasts and says, look at me, this is what you want to become. Instead, it is the name that says, I accept you just as you are. I understand that we are equals. And as equals, let us live and share our lives together. This is the path of Namo Amida Butsu.